5 minutes just to let people get in, and then we're going to start, okay?
Sorry, not feeling well. I'm finding right. Yeah. On the centennial one, I think. Or the my centennial.
You're from Brazil as well, right? Yeah. Oh, you can't talk bad on me. Maybe French, I don't know French.
I'm like Ally. I'm like a stranger.
Sorry, we had another class until 30. That's why we're late.
No, don't worry, I'm waiting for you guys. I know how that is. I used to study here, so I know exactly what you guys have been through. So don't worry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Okay, so 8:35. I guess we can get started. Just to make sure, guys. Can you see the module 1 and the course orientation on the Centennial? Just need to make sure that's available for you guys.
Yeah.
Can anyone confirm? Yes? Okay, cool. So, I guess we can get started. Alright guys, let me start with an introduction. I'm Ronaldo Felipe. I've been working with software development since 2009 professionally, for fun since 2004. This is me, a little bit younger. And during this journey, I had the experience with machine learning in a B2B business for selling cars. Company. I used to do regressor models for predicting the prices of cars. So that was a really fun experience. This is my email. So if you guys have any questions regarding the course, material, anything that you want to talk about AI, feel free to reach me out. I'll try to reply within 7 to 2 hours. Okay. I even have the app on my phone, so I'll get notified. And I love technology and machine learning. AI is the new revolution that's coming. I don't know if you guys heard the news, but yeah, a lot of stuff happened last year, and a lot of stuff are coming. Okay, so that's me, and now let's talk about the course. So the evaluation, we're gonna have several lab assignments. We even have one today. They are going to weigh 40% of the total points, and we have a few classworks that are going to be 10%. We're gonna also have a midterm and the final group presentation. This one I would suggest to think about what you guys would like to do already. I'll give the instructions when the time comes, but it's going to be a fun exercise because you're gonna be exposed with a lot of AI, and because it's a huge field and can solve several problems, it's kind of good to think so you guys can, when you guys form a group, you guys can sell your idea better, you know? So that's a little piece of suggestion there. For the course, the first week, which is today, we're gonna have an introduction to AI, and you're gonna install Python on your machines. That's the, if you guys manage to have everything set up and do the classwork at home or finish here, I'm happy. We're gonna identify applications of AI and machine learning, and the main usage of AI in today's world. Also understand some of the components of neural network. My goal is today you guys gonna be able to talk about it with other people from the field. And for the next week, we're gonna have an introduction to NumPy and Matplotlib. Those are two libraries that are fundamental for the management of data and numbers, especially. Like you're gonna be able to process matrices and arrays in a more efficient way. And that's pretty much the goal for those classes. Also, you're gonna learn some of data typing on that field, and how indexing and slicing works on those libraries. Then we're gonna have an introduction to sklearn, and also skimage and pandas. Those three, they work really well together. The first two, they are libraries that have pre-made models, machine learning models, and the last one is like the NumPy, but it's like an easier version of it, like a wrap around it. So you guys are gonna have some fun with that. You're gonna install those, and you're gonna learn a little bit how to use those tools. Then we're gonna have an introduction to Jupyter. That's basically the main tool you're gonna have in a real world environment. If you work as a researcher or you work with researchers, you're gonna have Jupyter notebooks that you're gonna have to read. And I'm going to try to teach you guys how that works, and also the version of cloud, like Google has this service called Collab that you can actually share these kind of documents like you do with Word docs. Then the following week, we're gonna have TensorFlow and Keras. Those two are the two most popular frameworks for building neural networks. So you're gonna have some experience with that. And we're gonna build a Keras clothing classification application. That's going to be really interesting. Then, because I forgot to remind people about the name of the course. This is developing UI for smart devices. So we're gonna have a lot of UI as well related. How we're gonna make those machine learning models on the 318, on 318. And this is the area where we're gonna start to do that. Like, we're gonna start with TensorFlow Lite. This is like a lighter version of the TensorFlow that we're gonna learn. And we're gonna be able to build lighter versions of the machine learning models, so we can put that on Android devices and save battery by doing that, or putting that on IoT things, Internet of Things, IoT devices. Once we go through all that, we're gonna have the midterm. So it's going to be pretty much the material that we had so far. Then we're gonna go deeper on the UI part of the course. We're gonna start developing an Android application, like super basic, but it's going to be the foundation for you guys build whatever you guys want to do. And the following week we're gonna go on that and actually use the TensorFlow Lite to be part of our application. Then we're gonna have an intro with NLTK. This is a framework for natural language processing, which is how the machines are able to understand what we say if we use language like English, Portuguese, Spanish, Hindi, Punjabi, whatever language. That's how we're gonna use it. And we're gonna make a simple recommendation system based on that. Learn about web scraping and some other fun stuff. Then we're gonna have an introduction to Raspberry Pi. I was told that the Centennial College has the access to the equipment, so I'll try to bring that to you guys. I can't promise that yet, but I'll do my best. And if not, at least we're gonna be able to use virtual versions of that, so you guys are going to be able to learn the basics of how to build your own Raspberry Pi. For those who are not familiar with the Raspberry Pis, they are like really small computers, so you can do whatever you want with them. Like, they are super convenient. So if you want to do some Internet of Things kind of business, you can use Raspberry Pi to, I don't know, check the temperature of room, make a smart detector of a baby crying, and you turn on a camera, stuff like that. So that's a really useful tool. Then we're gonna have the exposure of developing and testing on Android Wear, which is like those Apple Watches, but they're for Android, the Google version of it. That's going to be fun. And the last week, like the last before the final presentation, we're gonna have exposure to Internet of Things and how to develop and deploy systems on those kind of environments, which have like their own challenges. So we're gonna have that and learn how to overcome that. So that's pretty much the course, and the last week is going to be the final project. Do you guys have any questions related to the course?
Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, the questions will come. So yeah, that's okay. That's cool. So, oh, somebody wants. Some ground rules, like what I'm going to expect from you guys is once a week I expect you guys to log in at the class. We're gonna pretty much do that during the class, right? Because you guys gonna need to follow the material. Complete all the work listed on the weekly checklist. Discuss on the forums, so if you have any questions or you guys need help somehow, or you guys have any curiosity you guys found on the AI field, I would recommend to share. This is a really exploding area. The last year and this year are really promising on AI. So everything is new. Whatever you guys share is going to be a piece of a diamond. So feel free to do that and also create connections among yourselves. Because I made a lot of friends here and they helped me during my career as well. So it's good to start to build those connections with the smart people around you, which I believe are all of you guys. So other than that, contact your professor whenever you have experienced difficulties. So please, if you have any issues, let me know. I'll try to help you at the best of my power. Also, the interactions that we're gonna have, is expected to follow those general rules of etiquette, right? Respect each other, and we're gonna follow the student code of conduct of Centennial. I also expect you guys to be self-disciplined and manage your time properly. So if you need help, they have this resource here. So during the time that I was here, I don't remember seeing that. So I know here we have a lot of assignments, right? So definitely this might be helpful for you guys. Talking about assignments, another expectation is to finish them on time. And all the assignments are going to be submitted as assignment 2. So on those classworks that I was talking about, we're gonna have the print screen of the work you guys have done, and you guys gonna upload that on the assignment 2. Okay. Tests and quizzes are meant to be completed alone. No plagiarism. In the expectation of you guys being honest, of course, and the academic integrity. Now, what you guys can expect from me? Like, I'll treat all the students with respect, and I'll respond my emails within 72 hours. Excluding weekends, I would say, but I'll try to include the weekends as well. I'll do my best to reply during the weekends. I'll check the discussion forum, so you guys, if you guys have any questions, I'll do my best to answer that as well. The assignments will have feedback, like I'll provide it within 1 week, the corrections. And yeah, that's actually the last one. Okay. Also, there are some materials here. If you guys are interested, I don't know, if you guys don't like my face or whatever, you can without us, of course. But yeah, if you guys want to read, feel free to go and read the additional resources. Do you guys have any questions regarding expectations? Okay, let's move on. The Centennial, I assume everyone knows, but yeah, there is a material here. You guys feel free to read on your leisure if you guys want. And also be aware that there are the Student Hub and the Library Research Connect. Like, there are resources that they help you out. During that time I was here, there was some monitoring. Maybe there is monitoring in this course as well. So maybe it's worth it to check out. Not only for this course, but other courses as well. Okay, and some fact here, and the orientations checklist. Yeah, feel free to do those at your leisure. Now I'll go with the fun stuff. So in this section of the reading materials, they are kind of optional because they go really deep on the topic. So if you guys really want to become a specialist on the area, you want to learn about the math related to some machine learning models, these reading materials will help a lot. Here we are going to create the foundation for you guys, but it's up to you guys to build whatever you guys want under that foundation, okay? So for start, I checked this book. This is part of the course material, and you guys can download and work with that. This book is really good. Like if you go here, it shows about the charts, some commands that they have, some concepts as well. They also work with images and some concepts related to images. So feel free to read this book if you are interested. Also, there is a book related to pandas, which is really important for working with machine learning because that's how you pre-process your data. And we're gonna learn today about the importance of data. There's this book about cameras as well. Feel free to read it. This one in particular, I would not recommend. There are other books better out there, but this is part of the material, so it's free. Feel free to use it. Free because it's part of the course. No? So this one as well, really good for concept. They talked about the math as well related to it. So if you really want to go deep, feel free. Not a requirement, but it's a really interesting read if you are into this kind of stuff. And this is the neural language processor framework. This is going to work really as a good guideline for the classworks related to NLTK. Even myself, I might go and take a look because this stuff, they are really specific. So feel free to take a look on that when needed. But I wouldn't recommend to go deep on that. The other ones, it's kind of cool. If you really are into, go ahead. But this one, there's so much going on this year that probably will change. Probably you guys have heard about the ChatGPT that's been hot this year. And yeah, there are other tools out there. Anyway, so let's go to the course itself. I'll skip the introduction because I kind of talked about it, and I'll go straight to the fun stuff. The AI. Okay. So, what is AI? Historically, researchers have developed and pursued many definitions, and they have these dimensions, right? They have a human versus rational. They have the thoughts versus behavior. And that led to these four categories, which are the think humanly, act humanly, think rationally, and act rationally. Okay? So you want to go through those four categories. So I'll start talking about this one, the Hoagland 85, even before our era, right? Like the exciting new efforts to make computers think, machines with mind, in the full and literal sense. So what is this? Like nowadays, computers, you can make them act like they think they are human. Like not they think, because they are just mimicking the human behavior. So the idea of this category here is that AI could be defined as thinking humanly, making a machine to think like a human. That's of course a philosophical way of seeing things, but nowadays we're kind of getting close to that definition, or at least mimic like it was real. Another way of seeing this is like think rationally. So one that I like a lot is this one from Winston. The study of computation that make it possible to perceive, reason, and act. What does it mean by that? Once upon a time, not so long, like 5-ish years ago, I heard that term that in IT in general, not even talking about AI, you have data, you have information, and we have knowledge. Our job is transform data into information and information in knowledge. That's pretty much like how IT works. This transition between data and information, it's kind of easy. You do some reports, some SQL queries, and you find your interpretation and you have information. Like, I don't know, I sold 10 cars today. I had X amount of applications on my insurance company. That's okay. But how do we transform that knowledge into, that information into knowledge, is one of the definitions of AI, and that would be this perceive, find reasons, and act. One example that I gave you earlier today on the previous class is that I work in an oil company, and we had this huge amount of information. And there we had to identify the IT support, why they were putting wrong categories on their tickets. And because they were doing that, we are having bad reports. So we had to identify that. So during that time, we used a lot of machine learning and statistical models to identify those departments that were creating that error, and what kind of categories were hard to actually maintain as consistent. So that's pretty much it. Perceive, like you have some sort of problem, you have the data, the information in your reports, and you perceive that. You study that, you find the reasons, and then you act. In this case, was provide proper training to the teams that needed the most. Okay, and now we go for the other two categories of a definition of AI. It's like they act like human. It's not just think like humans, like they act like human. So this is one example, like the art of creating machines that perform functions that require intelligence when performed by people. So a good example that I would say is like, we talked earlier today, like chatbots, like when you have a bank issue, and nowadays it's really popular, right? You go there on the support and you're talking straight away to a chatbot. Like you need some sort of knowledge of the business, and you need to think like a human, like in order to treat the client well. So the chatbots, they're kind of useful, and they follow in this kind of definition that they described as AI. And then the last one is acting rationally. So one example of this is like, nowadays there is this term called AGI. Yes, want to talk? No. I saw the hand, sorry. So nowadays there is this term called AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is like AI that's trying to act like a human. I don't know if you guys ever heard about the Tesla bot. Is like the main project that they announced recently, and the idea is that that bot acts like a person. So these ones are one step before that. Nowadays we have this like human acting behavior or thinking, but this one is actually one of those bots that let's say you have a cybersecurity issue, and then you found certain patterns on your network, and then you have to attack or protect that certain area of the network with a firewall or something. That's kind of like that. Like you act and you think, but you're not like, you're acting rationally. You're not actually acting like a human would act. Like it's not like someone is on the servers and saying, oh no, that network should shut down. Maybe I'll create a firewall there. Like it's more like this is more like the old AI, I would say. They used to call AI agents. You might be able to find somewhere. It's still reference to that. So here they have a few examples of AI, like plan a surgical operation, diagnose a disease. They have for every category here. Predicting and testing behavior of human subjects. This one is really good if you have, before you do an A/B test of a product, you might have some sort of projection that you want to do. So you want an AI to think like a human would do. And that's how you try to kind of reduce the cost. So maybe you don't need to do so many A/B tests that way. So that's an example. Also the Deep Blue chess computer. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but that's a really famous one. It's like one of the first AI systems that got really famous. This one was the computer that beat Kasparov in the chess game. So yeah, food for thought there. Think rationally, like solvable problems. So if you have a problem, easy to solve, like the cybersecurity one that I was talking about, that kind of follows that. Usually they have these kind of machine learning models. They have a lot of foundation on probability theory, because you are tackling a really specific problem. You're not trying to mimic a human, right? Here is the agent example, same thing that I thought before. Usually you are trying to maximize a goal. You have something in mind, and you kind of have a set of rules that you kind of know what to do. It's like a decision tree. Okay. Before we move on, do we have any questions you want to talk about, or examples you guys see of AI that you guys want to talk about? Anyone? Okay, that's okay. Let's move on then. The Turing test. I don't know if you guys ever heard about this one, Alan Turing. But this guy was really famous, and so famous he even got a movie recently, not so recently, but a really good one, called The Imitation Game. And that's kind of a weird name for a movie, huh? But that's actually the whole point of the Turing test. How this works. This guy was like one of the first guys to make a computer. It's not really a computer, it's called a Turing test, Turing machine. But that's basically has the foundation of the whole idea of computers that we have today. And while he was building that concept and also helping during the war, because he actually participated like deciphering codes from the German, he came with this idea, like what if this machine could actually mimic a person and we don't know the difference? Would that be possible? And he came with this idea, and they call it the Turing test. And this test consists in, you have imagine two rooms, and you are only able to talk to them by text or even talking. And then one is a person, the other one is a machine. If I'm the tester and I cannot know the difference between them, it means that machine passed the Turing test. So the machine can mimic a human. That's why the movie is called The Imitation Game. That's in honor to the Turing test. And how can we build that kind of software? We kind of need these three foundations in order to be able to do that. The first one is to be able to have natural language processing, the famous NLP. So the chat GPT, that's basically the machine learning model for NLP, and a really impressive one. And basically what that does is it's able to communicate in English, right? Or any language, it could be in other languages as well. NLP is not necessarily tied to one language, it can be several languages. Another feature that this AI should have is automated reasoning. So based on questions that we do, that machine should be able to identify proper answers for those questions. So let's say, why the wall is white? Like a human could come up with some sort of answer, right? But if it's like doesn't have an automated reasoning, you could say whatever, like, I didn't understand your question, could you try it again? You probably saw it somewhere, some AIs, they do that. And that's how they fail the Turing test. Another one is they should have the capabilities of machine learning, but not just a machine learning model. It's more like the ability to adapt to new circumstances and detect and extrapolate patterns. What does that mean? Yeah, I'll use the same drawing because I don't have somebody lending me a pen. But imagine you have only 2 dots here, right? And you want to make a line. This is an example of linear regression. So try to abstract here. The linear regression is usually when you try to find a line that connects the dots. Like, the closest that line it is, the better it is to predict something. Now let's say you only have 2 dots. And those are the ones that you started. You can make a line here, right? 2 dots, that's easy. But let's say you start to create several dots. And they follow a completely different pattern. If you use the same machine learning model and you don't adapt to that new pattern, you're not able to create a proper response. So one example that we do as humans is like you meet someone and then you ask, oh, what do you like? What are your hobbies? And let's say, oh, I like to play guitar. And then the machine maybe wouldn't be able to remember that you know how to play guitar. But a human would probably learn that and use that in another conversation. So let's say, hey, so probably you like rock. What kind of rock music do you like? Things like that. So that's pretty much this idea of adapting and the real machine learning. And this issue that I presented here is an issue that's really common on machine learning models that use a statistical approach, because as you can see, as the time goes by and the more data comes in, the less reliable these machine learning models are, or they could be, because the data pattern changes, and this is called like rotting the machine learning model. So that's a term that you might hear in the industry if you work with an industry that relies on machine learning models. Over time, they tend to not work anymore. And the reason is because the data pattern change. One example that happened last year is, let's say, the inflation. Let's imagine you have a machine learning model that expects you to have a 5%, 2% inflation. This year came, that machine learning model doesn't work anymore, right? So things like that can happen in real life. And in order to pass the Turing test, this machine has to learn to adapt to the new information that's coming.
So that machine that you were talking about, just AI, right? So recently has been released, right? So the GPT chatbot.
Yeah, that's one.
So I don't know the exact what kind of things, so I'm so really interested in it. So but I've not tried so far. I don't
Yeah, definitely that does. I didn't the Chat GPT one. I didn't try myself, but I tried the previous version of it, and it's scarily real. To like, they go really well on the Turing test. Like I felt like talking to a person. But specialists they say that it's like a really smart parent. That's how they call. I don't know. You can pick a side. People are discussing. They're still researching about it, but they are really good.
And
Definitely.
it's getting updated by every day, so every single month.
Yeah, the GPT-3 wasn't that great on the feedback aspect, but if you talk to him like 20 sentences, he still remembers. That part is already really impressive. Like I was talking about really crazy topics like the definition of higher being. Do you have a religion? You can ask like those really complicated questions, and they still can provide a fairly decent answer, like it were a person, and if that's really interesting for sure. Yeah. Thank you for your input, and yeah, for sure, the Chat GPT goes really well on this one. It's kind of scary.
It's very dangerous, yeah.
Anyway, so we have a few examples here, like the earlier days, the Eliza and the Mongoose. If you want to read about them, they have the Wikipedia page with the first one, and the research, like a website of the doctor who made these two. And the ChatGPT 3 is a recent one, but as we can see, there were other people doing stuff before it. I think around the years of 2000, people are already trying to beat the Alan Turing test. And they are having quite success, actually, in certain situations. Okay, you guys have any questions? Okay, let's move on then. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the 5 disciplines of artificial intelligence. This one will be really interesting for you guys if you guys want to pick a field and stick to it, because all of those, they are full of research. Like, there are still things blowing today. I'd say the hottest one right now is this one because of the ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But all of those, they are huge in their aspects. So I'm going to explain how they work. So the first one is the natural language processing. And it's the field where you learn how to enable and communicate successfully in this example, English, but it could be any language. Okay? Whatever language you train your NLP kind of machine learning model.
So we can teach them. We can teach them the same languages to speak with them.
Yes, if you want. The technique is not that hard. If you search auto-regressors, actually I believe the Keras has that already. So if you guys want, you guys can try to make a GPT-3 here.
Oh, it's gonna work like so. Just suggestions. For example, when you work with your keyboards on just an iPhone devices, so you can see like when you.
Depending on the amount of data, you can do that actually.
Yeah, it's gonna give you some suggestions.
Yeah.
And the subtitle, what about the subtitles? Just releasing, so kind of like, is it using like just AI for
Yeah,
creating subtitles like for kind of movies?
for the movies, I don't know, but for this, the keyboard things, yes, they use this natural language processing. Yeah. Yes?
When you are trying to teach your program to whatever it's like language or vision or whatever, when you are trying to teach it, you are basically giving it a certain amount of data, right?
Yes.
And its learning speed would be at the same level as its processing speed of the data you are giving it. How it processes.
Yes, at some extent, yes. That's actually a good question. remember when, but since you brought that up, I'll bring this drawing here. Like, oh yeah, on the machine learning. You know what? I'll go with the machine learning first then. That's how you adapt to new circumstances and extrapolate patterns, right? So how does that work? When you do the coding, I suppose everybody has experience with coding, right? How does it work? You have a business rule, you have some idea of coding language that you want to work, you code, and you tell the machine what to do, right? So that's what programming, like standard programming is. That's why the languages that we work with, they are also called imperative languages, because we tell the computer what to do. That's how the standard coding is. You have some code that's got the programming that creates data, right? Or information or knowledge, depending on the business that you have. The machine learning is actually the other way around. You have data. You have a lot of data. Like your friend was saying, the data influences the quality of the code. So that's what actually machine learning is. And that's where the example I was talking about comes from. If you only have two dots here, you can connect whatever line you want. But doesn't mean that that line fits this kind of problem, this kind of data that you have, like the data of the real world. And that's kind of the drawback of machine learning, and what we need to be careful, and I'll talk about it as well, which is, they have a term for this, is data bias. Like your machine learning is as good as the data that you have. So like you said, the data that we're gonna have here on the course is going to be like a small sample. I believe on the clothing one, they probably use the example of 1,000 or 5,000. But the GPT one that we were talking about, they are in the billions, actually, 300 billions words, I believe it was something like that. So that was insane. And also the complexity of the models that they use, usually they are harder than the ones we have, because the machine that they have more power. They use huge frames. If I remember correctly, the GPT-3, they took 3 months to finish training on that.
3 months.
Yeah. Like for training and get the models. Yeah. And that's because it's optimized, right? So again, the amount of data that they have is huge. So the code that they have is huge as well. It's really good. And in special, the GPT, they made it in a way that you can actually feed loop the data as more as you use, the more they learn. So they have this term called reinforced learning. It's not here, but since you guys brought, I shared this with you.
A friend of mine said that Google's AI or something like that uses the "Are you human?" tests you see on Google. Like when you try to enter many websites, they do the whole "Are you human?" and
It's working as captcha.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do they actually use that as a data, or
Yeah, that's at the end of the day is us feeling this good.
so it can be used as
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, but in the last year or so, it's getting really hard actually, those captchas. Sometimes I don't know about you guys, but some are really, like they have find the cars on the picture, and then they have a car, a half of a car and a bus. Like, find the vehicles on the picture, and then I don't know, they have two vehicles. Things like that, you know? So yeah, that's what machine learning is. The pros and cons of that. The natural language processing is the field where you try to understand that language, like how humans communicate, and you use AI to make that happen. So this includes how you store words, like the term of token. If anyone had the opportunity to use these GPT-3 things, they price their service based on tokens. The tokens are kind of like words. They are not words because they follow this structure that is optimized for the natural language processing. And that's what this area is about. Automated reasoning. These are situations where you have certain questions and you want to reach conclusions. So you probably saw this recently as well. If you search things on Google, especially when they are kind of question-like, they are now showing the answer. They are not just bringing you the website. Sometimes they show the answer right away for you guys. That's basically the automated reasoning working. Another good example is on the banks situations, the IT first line, like the front line. Those chatbots, they pretty much they are automated reasoning. Okay? And all those three, at the end of the day, they are for the Turing test. Those are the features to beat the Turing test. Now, because the Turing test got boring and people managed to beat that, people are going higher. And those are the next steps to make the Turing total test. And what are those? The computer vision, that's the area of AI where you are able to identify things in an environment, like a human. Let's say I can see this is a monitor, this is a slide, this is a ceiling. Like I'm, as a human, I can do that easily, but a machine is a little bit more complex. And that's the area where people study that. There are several applications for it. One that probably you guys used it at some point or saw someone using are those Instagram filters and all that stuff. How do they work? They basically have the mapping of your face, so they know where in the space to render whatever. I don't know, a cat ear or a dog nose, things like that, you know? So this is what this is about. And also there is robotics. Robotics, this is the area where you can manipulate objects and move around. So that includes those vacuum cleaners that are cleaning the house now. That includes some dancing robots, like if you ever heard about Boston Dynamics, like they are making those videos for fun, but they have a super interesting applications in the military and also on the exploration of other planets. This one is a fun one too. Like imagine you're in a rescue situation. You don't want to send a human because the human might die saving other people. So you might want to send those kind of robots that they have the capability of survive, or if they not, at least not a human life. So that's one of the applications. And as you can see, they are amazing nowadays. I have to say, every time I see those stuff, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's low.
Yeah, but
like if you are in a fire, you don't want that to be the one that saves you.
but you can set up the speed. That's the catch, right? I don't know if you get. Do we have gaming students in there? Anyone from gaming? Oh man. But anyway, you can change the timing usually of those stuff. They are doing slow just for fun and also for saving money, because if they break, nobody will gonna want to pay that, you know. So yeah, that's the area of robotics, and also that includes people with people not enabled, like they lost an arm or leg. Robotics also helps that with implants that are trained with machine learning models. Like I saw a video once of a research that the guy, he lost his arm, but he still had the nerves of the like closing and opening arms. So he was on the research, and they put an arm on him, and he did like a physiotherapy to learn how to use the arm, And after a few months, he was able to grab cups and drink and stuff like that, so it was really impressive. And that's the area of robotics. That goes on the Turing total test. And one example that's not real yet, but I found interesting that came out, is there is this movie from last year called Megan. I won't show videos because people might get scared, but I'll tell the plot of this movie. It's a doll that the mother bought, to be a friend of his daughter, and it's an AI, a completely AI. And it falls on those categories like the robotics, computer vision, can interact like a human. And the thing is, because it's a horror movie, this AI gets angry of the mother because, I don't know, chores, stuff. I didn't watch the movie, but it's really interesting one. That people are starting to think about those things because it means that it's coming, right? It's maybe 20 years, I don't know.
It's still on Cineplex Starbucks, so you can go and watch it.
Yeah.
Everyone has to watch it.
If you want to have fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's still on the.
It's an horror movie though, so it's not for everyone, but the plot is amazing, I have to say. And I watched the trailer and I was like, wow, this is exactly this portion here. All the fields talking together.
That would be just.
Okay, so do you guys have any questions regarding the Turing test, the total Turing test, and all the 5 disciplines of AI? Okay, so let's move on. If you want to read more, there is a wiki page as well. Okay, so just a reminder, when this class ends, is it 10:30 or not?
10:20.
10:20, okay. So I'll speed up a little bit. Just to make sure that we get everything. So, all right, with all this development in AI, we also have a lot of fields related and got benefits, not also got benefits from the field, but also contributed to the field. And those are neuroscience. That's where AI got the inspiration of trying to build our artificial brain, and that's how they create the mathematical models of the brain, like the neurons and all that stuff. We're gonna talk about that further in another lecture. Computer engineering. What happens is the GPUs, they are famous for gaming. However, in the last few years, there are other uses for that. One is crypto, that is getting down, but one that will never die is probably machine learning. Why? Because GPUs, they are meant for creating calculations for graphic, like for showing models, 3D models, show them smooth and whatever. And those calculations, in order to make them smooth, they actually use floating point numbers, those like decimal numbers. And that's exactly what neural networks use. So people are now using GPUs for machine learning a lot, and NVIDIA is getting hot in this topic. She's one of the outsourced providers for Tesla, for example. Psychology, like the Turing test, we try to mimic human. Psychology plays a role as well because we want to, let's say, something that's hot and everybody is wanting or not is advertisements. Like they try to sell you stuff, they try to know how you feel in order to make you do certain behavior. So that's how psychology helps on AI. The control theory. This one is, I'll even open this one because this one is not that common, but it's really important. This one is, imagine you have the chess game. you want to control the area of the board, right? So you have certain patterns that you need to follow in a chess game in order to win that game. One example would be kill the queen, because she's a really powerful tool. So as closer you get to that objective, the less amount of work you're gonna have to win the game. Similar to other areas, like let's say a process, you want to maximize the amount of profit and reduce the amount of steps you need to do to achieve that. So that's where the control theory comes around. That's what they mean about optimal control and as a goal. Economics, like everybody likes money, so stocks, predictive future, AI, that helps a lot. I even use some of those myself. It's very fun exercise, I have to say. Yeah, it's kind of playing with fire, but it's cool. And people still do it today. There are a lot of machine learning models behind those banks and all that stuff nowadays. One meme that's real, I don't know if you guys heard about the GameStop stock. That the reason why that worked is basically because the banks, they use machine learning models, and they were following a pattern that the machine learning model was feeding, and people were doing exactly the opposite. So the stock was crazy. That was a really fun story. If you guys are interested in economy, I suggest read about it. Mathematics, like I mentioned before, people try to make the brain in using math. So definitely that helps a lot. Not only that, statistics and probability helps a lot with other specific problems as well. Like I mentioned, the linear regression, but there are other fancy ones and more complicated ones that work in situations that you might not expect. So that definitely helps a lot. Philosophy, like what is being human? Is it that machine a human? Like what is coming? We are going on that limit now with ChatGPT and all that stuff. So philosophy is contributing on AI as well. And what is the limits that we should go or not? So that's kind of their contribution. And of course linguistics, that's how the whole NLP area grew. So all the knowledge about verbs, subjects, you might not think that's great during high school or whatever, but in AI, they play a huge role behind the scenes. Okay. So now let's go with a brief story about what happened in the last few years. We started with the Turing test, like the conceptualization. And then the first AI programs started to come. People started research about the topic, and came the logistic theory. Then this is like the first version of the AGIs that I was talking about, but the goal of the AGI was to talk to a person and do whatever might be needed. This one is like a problem solver vibe. So it's like a lighter version of that. But the concept was created really before. Then Bayesian methods, those are the probabilistic contribution that came for the field. A lot of machine learning models and also probabilistic models, they use that. Then came the fuzzy logic. I don't know if you guys ever heard about quantum computers. Those are the difference between those and the ones that we use today is that they have the concept of qubits, and those are like different from bytes that has 1 and 0. These ones, they have a range, not necessarily 1 and 0. So they are extremely powerful for let's say AI in theory, but the technology that we have today, they are super hard to make. However, the math behind it was created in '65, and that's called fuzzy logic, instead of the Boolean logic that we know, 1 and 0. All right, so then we started to study about the natural language, and then we start to study about artificial neural networks. Like we start to have the first mathematical machine, not machine learning models, but neural network models. The concept was created back then. As you can see, this is far from the computer, right? The work, the foundation was really before the existence of those. And then in the 80s we had parallel computing, and then real neural networks like started to pop up, practical, and then we start to grow and grow until we get the famous one, the Deep Blue that I mentioned before, which is the computer that bet the best chess player in the world. And that was huge in terms of the computing area, because that was the first time that a machine could beat a human in anything. So that was huge. And then came the web crawlers, the concept of those, and the POCs. So as you guys know, Google became fairly popular. And they started like that. Like what are web crawlers? They are softwares, like, it's hard to call them AI as a web crawler, but imagine it as it's a software that goes, read the page, and goes through every link, and then explore the whole web like that. However, the AI, like the retrieving of that data, that was AI based, and they made that with the system of page ranking that used some statistical models behind that. That was really, really cool and made Google what we know today. And then there are these robots on Antarctica, there are robots in our homes, with the iRobot, right, Roomba. And then we come to the era of automated cars. Google experiments with those. The Tesla we know of, like smartphones, and the natural language processing that they have embedded on them. The Watson as well, but this time he was beating a game of Jeopardy against a human, which is a game that relies a lot with natural language processing, right? Because you have to understand the question. And that was insane. And then we come to the deep mind. Does anyone know what Go is? Not the language, the game. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you're gonna appreciate this, because this game is super simple to understand, but hard to master, insanely hard to master, especially for a computer. So imagine the chess. The chess, you have a set of fields, a set of movements. You kind of know you have, like, let's say 10, 12 movements per turn, like that you can do. And then you can explore those movements and predict how you're gonna win. In Go, that's impossible, because every intersection of those lines, you can put a piece. And this game is about controlling the board. So you have to go through insanely amount of variables. And in this case, this is on a 19 for 19, which means that for every piece, we have around 361 possibilities. So for every turn, this becomes n. So let's say 10 turns. I want to predict what I should do in the next 10 turns. This plus e means the amount of zeros that you need, like 14 zeros. Like even for 3 turns, that's a huge number. Like this, let me just parentheses. 4 million. Like you have to go in the memory of the computer 4 million possibilities. That's impossible, right? That's why they call Go as an intuitive game, because you kind of know what is good, but you don't know. And that's where the deep mind came in and backed people with the AlphaGo. So this was huge during the time, and I'm not so far behind, 2017. Even when I was talking to my friends, I was like, you know, because that was huge. And they didn't use just for that. They also bet on a world champion Dota 2 team, which is another game that's really complex. There are several variables, and it's also a team-based game, so you have to manage the resources really well. And the same model managed to be professionals. So that was huge. And then it comes the GPT-3. And the story is still writing, which includes the ChatGPT, the DAL2. Let me show some pictures of the DAL. Let's see if I have here. It's this guy. Hopefully they have some demos like these. I love this. They were generated by AI, all those pictures. You just type dog in the moon drinking beer, and it goes for you. An image that's really well done. Like you can't imagine, like it's not a person who did it, right? That's the new breakthrough that we are coming through now. And the next year we are expecting to do that with videos. So that's what Facebook was promising. Let's see how that goes. So AI is an amazing field, and I would say we are going through an AI revolution, right? Like happened with internet, Android phones, you know, smartphones, and cloud computing. So definitely that's a new and super exciting era. Okay, any questions related to this? One? Okay, let's continue. Okay, so that's how the AI is in the center. And then here we have a few more examples. We can see this one on the robotics as soon as the advertisement goes out. We have robot vehicles, machine translations, like the translators you know. We have the dancing robots. An interesting usage for this was to diffusing bombs. Like they were thinking about using those for diffusing bombs when they were, you know, being scary to terrorism and all that stuff. So this is really hot for the military. Those kind of experiments and go through uneven surface. So they can go anywhere and help in any sort of mission. Speech recognition, Alexa, Siri, I'm pretty sure you guys are aware. The duplex is being really hot in the recent years because now this Google AI is able to book appointments for you. Like they had a few videos how that worked, and not only the voice but also the understanding of the AI was really good.
We're using Selenium.
Selenium? You mean the testing framework?
The library which exists like in iPhone. Just a kind of the web crawling and so voice assistant.
I don't know. I would guess that they are using Keras because all those new systems they are using auto-regressors. That's why they are hot right now. Which is a new technique where you kind of have a short memory and you kind of learn while you're learning.
So what is a related library for iPhone?
Keras itself, they have that. If you search Keras auto-regressor, you can explore that. they have a tutorial you can see here. If you want to play around, you can go up there. Probably I won't cover this on the course. I'll just cover the library itself, so you can get started. But this is what else. I don't know if I mentioned on this class, but the goal of this course is like building the foundation. What you guys build on top of it is up to you guys. So if you guys can reach the sky, feel free. That's kind of what I want you guys to achieve here. Okay. So where I was. In game playing, Jeopardy, Poker, Dota 2, StarCraft 2, Quake 2, AI managed to beat us of those. That's insane. Another thing that, another few examples that I want to give is that image understanding, we are using that in medicine to identify cancer. I've seen several examples of X-ray of mammal cancer that were being used for training those machine learning models, and the models were going better than actual doctors. So we are in a good area for that. Climate science and cybersecurity, like the example I showed before, like I talked before. We can close a VPN or do some actions based on patterns that you might see on your network if you're getting invaded. All right, so, oh yeah, before I go, any questions related to these examples and applications? Okay. I'll move on. So this one, I'll go quick because of time, but I really want to discuss this, especially the first one. Now let's talk about the AI risks. Like as any technology, there are benefits and risks, right? They came with the internet, came the social web. They came with the airplane, came wars and bombs and all that stuff. The problem is not the tool, is how you use them, right? And AI is not different. So the first risk that I like to talk about, and there is a Netflix show really good about it. I think it's Data Bias, the name of the show. They talk about a researcher that she's Afro-American, and she noticed that her research was not working. She was working with face recognition, and then she found out that the machine learning model that she was using only recognized if you're using a white mask. And the reason for that was exactly this. The data bias, the decision making, the data that they had was not valid. They only had white faces on the data training. So the machine learning model only recognized two white people, and that became an issue. And she was one of the first to bring that up, so that's why she made this Netflix show. And it is a problem that happens not only on the face recognition, ethnicity, it could be anywhere. So let's say on the surveillance, you try to make a machine learning model to predict robbery, and they see your face and they in a camera, and then they predict if you're gonna rob or not. If you have a biased data, like the US data, again, they might make false positives. And that could create a lot of problems, especially for the person who was falsely accused of doing something. So those are huge risks in AI. So that's why as developers, as machine learning developers, we have to be extremely careful with the data that we are working on. We need to know where that comes from, how that was collected, and how respectful we are with our users, with that data. A few other examples of risks is autonomous weapons. So let's say you have a weapon that seeks a target, and there is a bug for whatever reason on that AI. Could kill someone that was not intended to. So that's a huge risk on the military. Impact on employment. There are AIs today, some companies use that for scan your curriculum and if they fit then their needs, according to the AI, they are going to let a person see it. If they don't fit, they might not let. So the impact on employment is real on that. And also the cybersecurity, because since you can automate attacks now, and you can adapt to certain security constraints that the whatever place you want to hack might have, you can attack in mass. Okay. Also, there are benefits, of course. So, military field, like I was talking before, the bomb and all that stuff. The medical field, the X-rays, the economy, financial as well with stocks, and autonomous driving, Tesla, right, and more. That's pretty much what we have. They have a few more examples. If you want to go deeper, you can go on those examples. But I'd like to go with the introduction to Python. It's going to be really quick. My goal is to let you guys get familiarized with that and set up the environment. Okay? So there are a few links here. We're gonna tackle the classwork. That's going to be our goal for today. And what you guys need to do is going to be pretty much this, like, first thing, I want you guys to check if you guys have any Python version. So run this command. If you guys don't know how to reach this screen, just open the Windows, type CMD, and then you're gonna find this option here.
That's basically the terminal for Apple, right?
Yeah, that's the terminal, yeah, pretty much. First, I want to check if you guys have the Python. If you guys don't have the Python, you have two options. You can go to the course material, find this file, download it, and update the environment variable of your machine. Or you can download from the website as well. You just need to search Python download. And you should download the latest version, should work as well. But that's the goal, the first goal. So I'll give you guys like 5 minutes, and if you guys have any issues, let me know. I'll try to help you guys out. Okay?
Yeah.
To check if you have the Python, what we have to write?
Python version. Python /dash version. Basically this. Yeah. On the terminal.
So far.
And like I mentioned before, so the assignment will be pretty much, you guys are gonna run these commands, take print screen, and put on the assignments folder, okay? And for the print screen is the type meeting, and then you can create print screens. This is the
No, I'm just looking for step by step in case I have to mess up anything and you restart it. Yeah, silly, but
Do you check it out if it's
For that, Windows Mac, so you can maybe type command space.
I'm not sure if you can do that.
Command first, command, and then together. Yeah, now type environment level.
Maybe it's in the way. Works. Change the package.
There is a way to make that. Do you know how to change the dash profile? I'll try to search that for you. Yeah, so maybe there is an easy way. Maybe copy that in one of those folders. Probably the local bin is better for it. The extracted one. Where you downloaded that file? Okay. So unzip that on that folder. The user will not unzip. I think if you just right click update the right click on the file here and all those two. Extract. Yeah, maybe that's what. What else?
this is just is it only this one needed? And did you customize the path?
If it doesn't work for you, you can download from the website as well, but I'll take a look at this. Yeah, no, it doesn't have.
What's the question?
Yeah, download from the website. That's, I guess, for everyone. Download from the website because I don't think this one is working properly. Yeah, that works. Stable releases. Yeah, something to, if you are downloading from the website as well, make sure to download the stable releases, okay?
So I downloaded and I installed the installer, but when I tried Python version, yeah.
Try this. There is that, or you can also do this, like search where that's easier. Once you guys download and have things installed, if you're still having issues with this Python thing, you can go back to the installer, open again, modify, add, remove individual features, go next, and make sure that this is clicked, okay? Because this is going to change the environment variable, and it's going to make sure that you have everything good. Yes, kind of. I would like you to try to
Open the command prompt again.
because I think they changed the environment variable behind the scenes.
Where do you install that from?
Dash version. Dash version together. What is the path for that one?
Now, got everything. Yeah, it's okay now. Yeah.
Oh, so they choose the environment variable. It's not showing the for the yeah, that's what I thought, but it's not there. Yeah, it feels as really. That's bad. That's actually really. Relaxa, Ana, já me resolvi aqui. Eu consegui acesso, acabei que eu fui na sala de servidor. Ok? Yeah, I found the problem that this one is not having everything. If you go,
Is it should stay in I'm not quite sure. Is it so it's stuck?
It's not the same version. You might run into your problem, but it's fine. You'll figure it out. The basics is there. That's what matters. Okay. So if everybody's okay, I'll proceed. guys are not able to finish it today, you guys can finish at home, and then I'll check on the assignments. Okay? So let's start. The idea of this assignment is pretty much just follow the commands here and explore what Python has to offer. So once you have the Python version, and it means that you have Python installed, so you guys can run Python, just Python, nothing else. You're gonna reach the command line of Python. Okay? So with that, we can follow these commands. So the way these commands and also this UI works is the commands are those arrows, right? So you're gonna write import space this, and this is the output. This is basically to test if you have everything installed and everything's fine. Interactive terminal, exactly. So that's how the Python terminal works. And let's do that.
So just reuse Punch.
Hmm? You mean here? Or you can use PyCharm as well. I won't take any points on anything if you use PyCharm.
Okay.
Just print screen the terminal and it's fine. I don't care the terminal, could be Mac, could be Windows. As long as you guys run the Python, I'm happy. So use whatever you guys feel comfortable. Just be aware if you guys use that tool, you guys have to know that tool, okay? So here is a good point to maybe make a print screen if you guys want. So go to the snipping tool as a print screens. And then we can start with some the activity one. That's math functions. Okay. So like yeah. If you guys need more time, let me know, please. Because I'm going. Are you okay? Yeah. Yes, feel free to take already. And as you go, keep moving. Yeah, keeping the print screens for the assignment. No, just the print screens, okay. I'll take a look at the print screens, if they have the activities. No, don't need. I'll figure it out. If you want, it's better for me, but I don't really take points for that. Just the print screens, okay. Okay, so comments regarding the next section. Like our friend was saying, question? Yeah, feel free to follow them so you guys can be ahead of me. I won't run every command here, so feel free to do that. But just be aware of the explanation because that's the important things. Like here, it's like our friend said, it's an interactive terminal. That means that every command that you run is going to have a result right away. Jupyter Notebook works kind of like that, but they have the idea of cells, and also they create documents based on that. So if you guys get familiar with this, you guys gonna crash on the Jupyter part, okay? And the math aspect, they are really similar to how NumPy works. So these basic math functions, like if you want to test 1 plus 1, like it's here. If you want to import libraries, you can use import, not necessarily at the beginning. Sim, by all the functions of the Python libraries, they work on the terminal, as you guys can see. Okay, so something that's really interesting about the way Python works is that they have this concept of lists, okay? So we have this list here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can operate on this list. So let's say I want the first 3 elements of this list. All I need to do is to do, oh my head is on top. Let me fix this up. Can everybody read? Like, okay. Let me know if those stuff happen, okay? I want you guys to follow. Maybe I'll even put on the other side. Maybe that's better. I'm running the same commands, but it's important here is to understand them as well. So here, this command, it's saying get the first 3 elements of the list. When you don't put not anything and then you put column 3, it means we are going to stop at the 3rd one. This command is really cool for splitting our data, which is something that we do a lot in AI. Because we have the training data set and we have the testing data set. So that's how kind of Python vanilla does it. And we're gonna do it in the NumPy later as well. They also support this. What it's saying is get the element starting from the 2nd position until the 3rd. And in this case, since it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it starts with 0, so it's 0, 1, 2, and it stops on the 3rd. So I'm not getting the 3rd, then I'm getting just the 3 element. Okay?
So it's like 1 st equals to yeah.
Where?
So the comment that you wrote, it's like 1 st yeah here.
No, LST.
Oh,
It's
LST.
a
Yeah,
L,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Got it.
You can copy from the assignment as well,
Yeah.
just make sure. The focus here is more understanding the comments. Yeah, if you want to type it, that's better, but yeah, just let me know. So yeah, it's LST from list. Remember, these are lists, okay? Other properties, this one is fun because they don't have on other languages. Is like a negative. They have this concept of negative in arrays. So what that does, it's saying from the last element, we stop on the last 3rd position. So 1, 2, 3. I'm not reading these guys, so I'm getting only 1 and 2. So you can go on the list, not only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can also go backwards if you use negative values for the indexes. This is something really interesting for Python. Another cool thing, you can concatenate lists just using operators. So in this command, I'm having the list and also the list 1. If I make a plus on them, now I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 10.
Oh.
Yeah, concatenation, yeah. They have this concept of operators. C also has it. I believe C# has as well. But here in Python, that's kind of the norm because we do a lot of operations and not necessarily you use the standard classes, like the example of NumPy, right? So we use those operations to make it easy for the developer, but also we do complex stuff with it. Okay. So let's run. We can also use append. And now that gives us another element at the end of that list. And if we concatenate, we have a second list that's also the concatenation, but now we have that tree with the in the middle. Okay? Yeah. That's the thing. Something to keep in mind is these, when you make these kind of operations, like this one, we are creating another object. So even though I updated these three here on the list, nothing. If I had saved this result, I wouldn't have the tree there. It doesn't show on this assignment, but it's something to keep in mind. Like this new list, the list 2, is another object. Okay. So another way to show that is, let's make list 4, list 3 actually. This one is not on the assignment. It's just for you guys know. Let's make plus 4 plus this one. So now what I've done here, I used the list 1, a list 0 that we had before. I added a 4 in the middle, so now we have 3, 4. And we have the list 1, that's 6, 7, 8, 10. See here? But if I go back to the list 2, the 4 is not there. So every operation creates another object. Okay? This is something to keep in mind. Sometimes that can get confused because you start to do operations and then you said, oh, but I changed this. What happened? Maybe it's this. Maybe you created another object in memory and you don't know. Okay? So, yeah, let's run this guy. So these, honestly, on the day-to-day, that's a bit overwhelming. I wouldn't use like that. The IDEs, they have that for you. But just be aware, you have the option of run a help in any class that you have available, and you're gonna have some sort of documentation here, okay? And you can see more just by clicking up or down, and Q should exist, okay?
How you can exit?
Q. The letter Q on the keyboard. No, but that's just for the help. The exit is for the whole terminal, right? The whole terminal. Yeah. So those are some basic operations that I'd like to share with you. They also have dictionaries and other stuff, but I'll let those fun stuff for you guys because of time. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach me out. And remember to take prints of